U.S. Senator Bob Corker of Tennessee recently paid a visit to Macon County. While here, he spoke to local residents about a variety of topics, ranging from the current presidential race to health care. What you're about to see are some of the comments he made while here in Lafayette.
I know all of you have this sense that the nation's greatness, and it is the greatest nation on earth. As a matter of fact, that's why we're able to spend more than we take in, because everybody's willing to loan us money. People are willing to loan us money because we're the greatest nation on earth, but we're allowing that to dissipate, and we're basically letting burdens pile up on future generations. Secondly, the economic issues. I know you county and city mayor and your economic development folks here and you know, the Chamber of Commerce are constantly focused on trying to ensure that heads of household have good paying jobs. I mean, at the end of the day, from a secular sense, that's what people care most about. It really is. And what we've had happening in our country over the last 3 decades is a real structural shift that's taking place in the workforce. And so you've got people that are hardworking great Tennesseans and people all across our country that maybe at the time, you know, when they got out of school, they had a high school education, maybe a couple of years at community college, but the way the world's changing, they're feeling tremendous pressures and they're not seeing the kind of wage growth that they thought they would see. There's economic frustrations, especially in the middle class, which is the bulk of our country. And then you've got just security issues. You see the images on your television. Every country I go into, by the way, I meet with our intelligence officers there, and their concern is ISIS. By the way, the countries that I visit, in every case, they're worried about ISIS. They're worried about refugees coming through and what they may do to their own countries. They're worried about their own citizens having gone to Syria, Iraq, Libya to join the fight and come back as hardened radicals. And then they're concerned about social media affecting their citizens, just like happened in my hometown, where a young kid was affected by this ISIS propaganda and, you know, ended up killing 5 of our best. So those uncertainties are causing people to, I think, express themselves in ways that people never thought they would. And what I hope is going to happen out of this is that regardless of what happens in the presidential race itself, which will have a big impact, no question, but that those of us who are serving in Washington will finally wrestle and deal with these issues that our nation needs to deal with. I mean, this again, what a great nation we have. What a shame it would be if we ended up being the first generation to leave this country in a lesser good place than we found it. And we're on the verge of that. We're on the verge of that. You know, we've got a lot of corrections that need to take place to make sure that, you know, future generations live the kind of life that we've led. And I just want to thank you for letting me be a part of that effort and to try to create sanity around issues and put some common sense into the system and realize that if something's important enough to have, it's important enough to pay for, and if it's not, then don't do it. But, you know, we haven't been able to be successful yet in overcoming the forces that exist there that will just allow us to keep on doing what we're doing. Since 1932, that when a vacancy arose in the Supreme Court, the last year of a presidency, that it was filled. And the last time it was filled under divided government, where the presidency was on one party and Congress was in another, believe it or not, was 1888. So there's been a lot of debate about this, but the facts are that this is something that, generally speaking, when it comes to a lame duck presidency, people want the American people to express themselves before the nomination process is confirmed. Those are the facts. And I know that people in this room strongly disagree with that position being taken. And I appreciate you saying it, and you probably serve as a judge or you're an attorney or somehow involved in the process. My goal right now, to be honest, is to try to get Waverly Crenshaw confirmed in Nashville, who is, you know, one of the last judges that has been nominated here in the state of Tennessee. I know that the The district court there is overwhelmed with cases. We just had the Chattanooga person confirmed a couple months ago, but in spite of the feelings, you know, we are where we are. It's been very, very bipartisan. It's just that depending on which party you're in, you tend to raise Cain the different way. I don't think there's any way that, whoa, this whole notion about a brokered convention. A brokered convention is a bunch of folks get in a room and they, you know, figure out who the nominee is going to be, and then they make it happen on the convention floor. That's not going to happen. So then there's the contested convention. That's not going to happen, it doesn't look like, on the Democratic side. It looks like that's going to play itself out where somebody has a majority. But on the Republican side, you've got to have 1,237 delegates, so what happens on the first vote? By the way, the other thing I'm not doing is I could run to be a delegate here in our state. I'm not doing that either. I mean, I think people who've been involved in those kind of things that are part of the Republican, they can do it. I'm going, but they'll be the ones to vote. But at a contested convention, you all know this, I think, but you get there, and if, let's say somebody's got 1,200 votes, it takes 1,237. The first ballot, people have to vote the way they were declared. On the second ballot, some of those are released. I think it, and somebody could correct me, but I think it's those candidates who dropped out of the race, those delegates then get released. And after the second ballot, if there's not 1,237, then everybody's released. And they're free agents. They can figure out for themselves what they want to do. Now that could get interesting if there's not 1,237, but as far as a group of folks, I don't think any of these guys have the clout that they think they have. I mean, there's no one, I mean, if they look behind them, there's nobody following, okay? There's no way they're going to be able to do what some of them act like they think they're going to do. So I think it's either going to be they get a majority or there'll be a contested thing, and it'll be somewhat of anarchy for a while because I just don't think there are, quote, those opinion leaders that can, you know, make people do something or persuade them. I think they're going to make decisions on their own, as it should be. You know, one of the biggest abuses we've got going on in the country right now is Social Security disability. I don't know if y'all know this, the Social Security program is already insolvent. I think y'all know that, and we're already transferring money out of the general fund to make it whole. But the Social Security disability program, because there's such abuse going on, you know, you've got like almost a mill going on with doctors that are willing to sign the forms and lawyers. And by the way, you know, when you have this administrator, when people come before them, there's only person on the person trying to get on disability that has a lawyer. The U.S. government doesn't. And so, you know, these people just, and once you get on, you can get on at like 22 or 23 years old if you've got distress or something like that, and it's very difficult to get off. But, you know, once you get on that, then you get all the other federal benefits that come with these programs, and it is frustrating to people. I do think there is a divide. I think the divide is greater than that, just for what it's worth. But that is one of the divides that causes hardworking people here in Tennessee to be frustrated when they see that there are other people that take advantage of the system and basically are using up some of the resources that we could be utilizing to not be in the indebtedness that we're in.
One of the greatest privileges of doing what I do is having these kind of meetings where I get to travel around the state and see people. And it was just a great meeting, a great welcome, and people had very sincere concerns and questions, and for me to be able to hear those firsthand, it's just hugely beneficial to me, and I appreciated people being so direct and so authentic and so sincere in what they were asking and the comments that they made.
What kind of stuck out as far as some of the questions that you heard? What are some of the main concerns?
Well, I think, you know, just, of course, we had a pretty large discussion about security issues, national security and those kinds of things, and I really enjoyed being able to talk about some of the things that I'm seeing in other places around the world and how, you know, where the American people are on some of these issues. I also enjoyed, you know, talking about some of the economic issues, but also, you know, so much of each county is different, and you know, has different challenges, and to hear about some of the things that are affecting people directly in Macon County was also very, very good.
You talked about traveling to the Middle East a lot, but
Yeah.
but when you're off away from Washington, at least for maybe a week or two, how valuable is your time in Tennessee, and how valuable is it to be able to meet with your fellow Tennesseans?
Yeah, it's to be able to do this, and you know, we're going to be in 18 or 19 counties just during this recess. It's unbelievably energizing. I mean, it really charges your batteries and gets you going and reinforces perceptions that you might have had, and sometimes it's enlightening. It's almost every county we've been in, there's been something that we could somehow affect in a positive way and leave there knowing that through a phone call or something we might do later, something good can come out of it. But it's really energizing to do this. I know it may be hard for people to understand, but to get out of Washington, to travel through the state, to see what's happening in local communities, to see how people are working hard to improve their communities is very energizing.